A reading from the second letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, that I, Paul, may not become too elated because of the abundance of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, an angel of Satan, to beat me, to keep me from being too elated. 3 times I begged the Lord about this, that it might leave me. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness. I will rather boast most gladly of my weaknesses, in order that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and constraints, for the sake of Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong." The word of the Lord.
I want to talk today about power. Pure, unadulterated, raw power. Now, if I say the word power, what's the very first thing that comes to your mind? Is it the thermonuclear power that comes from the sun, or is it the United States military, or is it the president, or is it the rock? What do we think of when we think of power? But those are just human powers. The power is the power of God. And if we want to see a thermonuclear sun, think of billions and billions of thermonuclear suns created out of nothing, ex nihilo. That's the power of God. And the power of God is manifested in his Son, Jesus Christ, who not only was able to walk on water and multiply loaves, but able to look at the sea and say, "Stop." And the sea calms down. That's the power of control. But the question that I have today is that the truest power of God? Today we've got St. Paul in a pickle. St. Paul's got a problem, and it's a power problem. His problem is that he has no power over something that's going on inside of his life, that he refers to as a thorn in his flesh that he just can't get rid of. Now, it's a very celebrated thing, and everybody for 2,000 years has been trying to figure out what it is. And some think it's a physical affliction because he had trouble seeing, and some think it may have been a sexual habit that he couldn't deal with. And personally, I think it was because he was bald, and there was no Rogaine in those days. He didn't know what to do. Whatever it was, he was powerless over it. And so he said to God, "God, get rid of it." Matter of fact, 3 times he prayed to God, and God answered his prayer. God said, "No." No sometimes is an answer to our prayer to God. And God is saying to Paul, "No, look, I have given you revelations that no man has had. You've been caught between the 3rd heaven and the 7th heaven. You have seen things that no human being has ever seen. You have seen me face to face. You are the 13th apostle, the 14th apostle. And I'm not going to give this to you because I don't want you to get cocky. I don't want you to think that the power you've got is your power and that you're in control of it." So God says to Paul, "No, you're not in control." And then he says this most powerful thing to him. He says, "Paul, what I'm going to give you is enough. My grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness." This is the Pauline paradox, and it really is the ultimate paradox of our life, that power is going to come through weakness. So Paul is saying, I will boast. If I'm going to boast, then let me boast. I will gladly boast of my weakness so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Whoa, what is this truest power of God? What is the truest power of Christ? You know the answer. I don't have to preach it to you. You know exactly what's going to come out of my mouth next. The truest power of God is love. God is love. Love is the greatest power in heaven. Love is the greatest power on earth. Love is the greatest power in the world. But there's a problem because we see love as soft. As soft. It doesn't push. It's nonviolent. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not put on airs. Love is humble. And all those things that St. Paul lists about love are utterly, absolutely true, but I want to stay as unequivocally as I possibly can and as categorically as I possibly can. Love is not soft. Nothing is stronger than love. Nothing is more enduring than love. Nothing is more self-sacrificing than love. This is not weakness. This is strength. This is power. Now, what I am preaching to you is absolutely, utterly self-evident. There isn't a person in this church who does not believe every word I've just told you. And you know it, not in your head. This is not a conceptual thing. You know it in your heart. Anybody who's ever loved know exactly what I'm talking about. There is no greater power on earth. But we can't see it. But we don't think about it that way at all. And there's a reason for that. We have a culture that mitigates against the deepest, truest power of love. I call it the WWE culture. You know, that's the culture where there are good guys and bad guys, where there are winners and losers, where there are the powerful and those who are taken advantage of. That's the culture that says that all of life is a reality show. And all we got to do is turn on television every night and we see that all of life seems to be a reality show, and there is a war of oppositions, of opposites, of one set growing against another set. And we really believe that the one that's most powerful wins. The one at the end of life with the most toys wins. The one with the biggest button to push wins. The one with the biggest military to conquer the world with wins. We swim in that culture. We live in that culture. We believe in that culture. But that's not the power of God. In our quest to dominate, we are in danger, and I really believe we are in terrible danger right now. We are in danger of forgetting where the real power comes from, where the real power is. Let me quote St. Paul one more time. When I am weak, then I am strong. Where's the real power? The power isn't between the weak and the strong. The power is that the weak manifests the great strength of love. And we are seeing it played out right now in real time by those who are most weak, by those who are most vulnerable. They are 12 little children caught in a cave. And what have these vulnerable, weak little people do? They have brought out a strength and a love and a power that has unleashed the world. The whole world is watching. 4 of them have already been released from an impossible situation. One person has already given his life. Greater love no one has than to lay down their life for their friends. He didn't even know who he was laying down his life for. Why? Because there is something inside of him, a power inside of him. It's the power of love that literally can move mountains. And when he went into that cave, not knowing whether he was going to come out alive or not, he went in courageously, and I am a firm believer that anything that is done in courage is also done in vulnerability. There's this wonderful dance between vulnerability and raw love power. And that raw love power is now changing the world. We are going to be praying for these children today. We're going to be praying for all the children, because the other place where this is playing out right now, of course, is on our borders, where babies are separated from their parents. And love demands of us to say, bring them back. These are family values. This is a pro-life movement. And what does pro-life say? We give preference to the most vulnerable. No one is more vulnerable than a baby in the womb, utterly dependent upon the love of the mother and the love of everyone else. That vulnerability goes on literally for the rest of our lives. All of us are vulnerable. And it is in our weakness, in our vulnerability, that the power of love now can be made manifest. That's the paradox. That's what Jesus is talking about. When I am lifted up, I will draw all people to myself. What is more vulnerable or weak than this? What is more powerful than this? Nothing. Nothing. However, it is never going to be manifested and it's never going to work if we don't believe in it. If we believe in the lie of the superficial power of the world. And that's exactly what's going on in the gospel today. The wonder worker comes to his hometown. Jesus, the hometown boy, he has been in Capernaum and he's been doing mighty deeds, great works, marvelous miracles. And he comes home and his people say, "Who's this? Come on, isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't this the snot-nosed kid who used to be running around the neighborhood as a little kid? We know his sisters, we know his brothers, we know his family, we know his mothers. He's a carpenter. We've got your number." And it's less than one. It's fractions. And what was the result of that? And this is going to be the result of us if we don't have mighty love, if we don't have mighty faith, if we don't really dare to believe, and if we don't act on that belief of love. What was Jesus able to do in his hometown because they had no faith in him? They did not believe in his love. They did not believe in his power to heal. They did not believe in his mighty deeds. He could not, we are told, perform any mighty deeds before them, except for maybe healing a couple of fevers by laying hands on them. So distraught was he. That's what the world wants us to do. Get distraught. Shrug our shoulders. What can I do? I'm only one person. And then we believe the lie. The lie that might makes right. The lie that, we know the lie. We hear it every day. All we need to do is turn on our TVs to hear the lie. What we need to proclaim and what we need to believe is the truth. So my question to you and my question to me is, do I really believe in the greatest power on earth? Do I really believe in the power of love to transform the world that goes beyond ethnic cultures? Nobody asked whether these little children were, what their political leaning was, or what the color of their skin was. No. These were children of God. Do we believe that that love conquers all? And are we willing to act on it?